Mackenzie Blackwood was spectacular as the Sharks snap a 9-game losing streak, beating the Blues 4-0.
You're Locked On Sharks, your daily podcast on the San Jose Sharks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, welcome to Locked On Sharks, the premier hockey podcast of your favorite lovable losers in the Bay Area. My name is JD Young, contributor at San Jose Hockey Now. I want to thank you for making Locked On Sharks your first listen, probably part of the Locked On Network. We cover your team every day, even when Mackenzie Blackwood, especially when Mackenzie Blackwood gets a shutout, even when the prospects are just doing awesome prospect things. So if you want to be an everyday, all you have to do is just follow wherever you get podcasts. And of course, you can watch on YouTube as well. And today we're going to be talking about the Sharks 4-0 shutout of the St. Louis Blues. Now, the Sharks have beat the Blues twice this season. The only team that the Sharks have beat twice this year is the St. Louis Blues. Apparently they have the Blues numbers, but we're going to dig into this game, talk about Mackenzie Blackwood, look at what Blackwood's schedule, how he might be playing a lot of games down the stretch here. And then, of course, looking at the numbers of this game and check in on the prospects who had a very busy weekend as we have playoffs kicked off basically all throughout prospect land. So before we get into that, do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by Sleeper. Download the Sleeper app. Use promo code LOCKEDONNHL to get a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Woo! I know this team has been a rough watch this season, but every once in a while you just get a game like you got on Saturday night where you just know it had to feel good for these guys to finally get a win, right? This team has won 2 games basically since middle of February. Since February 16th this team has 2 wins, so that's like 6 weeks. They have 2 wins in that time. You have 2 9-game losing streaks in there. So this was a win that just good for the guys, good for the locker room, all that fun stuff. And with Chicago upsetting the Flyers that day, did not hurt the tank standing. So nothing and you probably knocked the Blues out of the playoffs. Yeah, that's a great Saturday to me, if you ask me, right? You saw the Sharks do what they have done, right, and start the game slow. But unlike the Wild game, the second period was a much better period for the Sharks, but they actually were able to take advantage of their opportunities and pot some goals here on their way to a 4-0 win. And Mackenzie Blackwood he talked about it even in the post game, kind of putting that injury behind him and showing why he could be your, medium term goalie of the future, as he has been stellar this year, but has had to deal with some of these injuries, right? But good to see Mackenzie Blackwood kind of back to form now. Good to see the Sharks win a game that, again, the franchise. Every once in a while, you got to throw the dog a bone, and the team needed a win here. So, there's still plenty of losses that are coming up. They have 9 games left here. I went through the schedule last week, and I said they were probably going to win either the Blues game or the Kraken game. And again, there's still there's 9 games to play. You have a 7-point cushion between you and the Blackhawks. And basically, you just kind of have to match point for point right now with them. And you're going to at least secure the top odds here. So, but back to Blackwood, who posted his second shot of the season, was spectacular. He had some highlight level, just absolute ridiculous saves in this game. And he was, again, just really good. So in all situations, Blackwood made 35 saves on 35 shots, expected goals against 2.78. So almost 3 goals that the Blues should have scored. 1,000% save percentage, 9 high danger saves on 9 high danger shots, 10 for 10 on the mid danger, and 14 of 14 on the low danger. As Blackwood was kept really busy, and especially in that first period where the Blues, like, we'll dig into the numbers here a little bit, but the Blues were set the pace in the first period and were completely just dominating the Sharks. Again, much like what we saw against the Wild game. But the Sharks kind of pushed back. And even in the third period where the Blues were down and they were desperately trying to get back into this game, at least get on the scoreboard, Mackenzie Blackwood just kept saying, not today, not today, not today. So I'm interested to see how the Sharks utilize Mackenzie Blackwood going down the stretch here. Again, a guy who has dealt with injuries, multiple times this year, multiple times in his career. Do you continue to kind of ride him, even though you're playing kind of meaningless games here? Looking at the schedule, the games are kind of spread out for the most part. So you have a game on Monday, and then you'll play again until Thursday. So I assume Blackwood's probably going to start both of those games, right? The Monday game against Seattle, and then Thursday against the Kings. All these are at home. Then Saturday you play the Blues again. Mackenzie Blackwood just had a shutout against the Blues. Then Sunday you play the Coyotes. So I expect Cooley to get a start out of one of those. I would assume he probably gets the Arizona start. But then you go up to then you play one more game against or you play a home game against Calgary up in Seattle on the Thursday, the April 11th. Then you play your last home game against Minnesota. 1,000 expect Blackwood to be there, kind of get that standing ovation for the season that he's, that he's had. And then you finish off at Edmonton on Monday and at Calgary on Thursday, the April 18th. So, there's a very real world where I see Mackenzie Blackwood starting 8 out of the last 9 games here, just because he's been playing so well and he's kind of earned it, right? Again, my worry though is just the injury history, right? And do you kind of continue to ride him as you have all season? If he does start 8 of the last 9, that's going to tie his career high for games played with 47 that he played in the 1920 season before COVID shut everything down, where he started 43 games in that time for the Devils. And that's kind of when he had his, really kind of solidified himself, or thought to have solidified himself as a goalie of the future. But this season, I would say the minutes and such have been much harder than what he faced that year. I mean, he's, in that year he had 1,452 saves. He's got 1,219 right now in a lot less games. So there's a real opportunity. There's a real chance that he's probably going to surpass that total number of saves. And he, if he gets one more shutout this season, he's going to tie his career high for shutouts in a season. Again, doing that on this Sharks team would be something kind of spectacular, to be honest, if he gets 3 shutouts on this Sharks team, which has been, you guys have watched the Sharks all season long. So, but yeah, the Sharks, it'll be interesting to see. Again, we'll have plenty of time this summer to talk about the Vanacek, Mackenzie Blackwood combo and kind of what they look like. But I guess, I assume for right now, as long as Mackenzie Blackwood's healthy, it's his net. And I would expect Cooley to get a start at home, I would kind of circle or pencil in that Coyote start, but we shall see. So yeah, we'll dig into the numbers here in a minute, kind of look at, we had some tweaks in the lines. We saw the Lund line of Eklund, Granlund, and Zetterlund, see kind of what that looked like. We're going to kind of dig in the numbers behind this game, how the Sharks' second period they were able to ride that to victory. And then again, going to talk about the prospects, Will Smith, Casper Halton, Quentin Musty, and Luca Cagnoni. Just kind of check on the prospects here in just one second. It's almost the end of the season, Sharks fans, but you can still win big by playing daily fantasy hockey on Sleeper, the official daily fantasy app of the Locked On NHL Network. Sleeper is our number one choice for daily fantasy sports and especially daily fantasy hockey, because with Sleeper, you can win 100 times your cash in daily fantasy hockey contests. All you have to do is pick some of your favorite players, whether they're NHL superstars like McDavid, Crosby, or McKinnon, or some of your favorite Sharks players like Zetterlund, Granlund, or Eklund, and record more or less than their sleeper projections for things like goals, assists, saves, plus minus, and more in a given game. 100 times bet on sleeper. You need to correctly predict the outcome of 8 player stats. You heard me, Sharks fans. You can win 100 times your money playing daily fantasy hockey with sleeper. So start paying attention and nail your picks so you can start winning big. Use promo code LOCKEDONNHL and you'll get a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. That's code LOCKEDONNHL. See Sleeper's terms of use for details and locational availability. All right, let's dig into the numbers for this game. So we had 50 minutes and 38 seconds of 5v5 time, and the Blues dominated, especially the first and the third periods. 76 to 28 shot attempts in favor of the Blues, 73.08 to 26.92% Corsi 4, again, in favor of the Blues. Actual shots at 5v5 was 32 to 13. Scoring chances 36 to 14. High danger chances 3 to 12. 2.55 to 0.97 expected goals for, all in favor of the Blues. I think that helps to highlight just how good Mackenzie Blackwood was in this game, as the Sharks were only able to really generate offense in the second period, at least at 5v5. But yeah, the shot attempts, you just see it kind of as like, it's like Blues, and then the second period is kind of even, and then the third period is Blues. Like that. It's insane just how the Corsi attempts were so much in favor of the Blues. And Mackenzie Blackwood just was like, yeah, we're not losing today. So that second period, though, 13 minutes and 20 seconds of 5v5, 13 to 16 shot attempts. Actual shots was 7 to 3 during that time in favor of the Sharks. 6 to 10 scoring chances, again, in favor of the Blues. That one, 2 to 1 high danger chances in favor of the Sharks, but 3 goals for at 5v5. So the Sharks did a really nice job of kind of hanging in there in the first period, kind of like what we saw against the Wild. But then this time in the second period, they were able to take advantage of their opportunities, and that's what they did, right? They were able to generate. I thought even though the numbers are closer, it felt like the Sharks were kind of controlling the pace in the second period. They ended up getting 3 power plays in that time. Well, they didn't score on those power plays. They were still able to kind of control the pace and control the game during that time. If you go to all situations, it's more favorable in the Sharks in that situation, where they're out shooting the Blues 20 to 16 with 11 to 10 scoring chances and 4 to 1. The Blues and Sharks both had an abbreviated power play thanks to penalty, and then Mikael Granlund was able to kind of draw a penalty, so we got some 4-on-4 time. But the Sharks just able to kind of establish their game and then hang on behind Mackenzie Blackwood, who was again spectacular. I don't know how many times I can continue to say how great Mackenzie Blackwood was in this game. It was ridiculous what he was doing in this game. So when we get to the shot attempts and everything like that, it is very much skewed in favor of the Blues. Mike Hoffman led the way with Corsi 4 at 36%. It is the team was basically hemmed in their own zone for the first period and the third period, but was able to kind of take advantage. So let's look at the lines and see kind of what we had. So Zetterlund, Granlund, Caution started. We also had Eklund, Cunnin, Bailey, Bordeaux, Sturm, Hoffman, and then Zadina, Carpenter, LeBanc. And again, none of these numbers are pretty just because of how skewed it was in favor of the Blues when it comes to the shot attempts. So 5 to 15 shot attempts for the Granlund line. They played 11-39, 5v5, 5 to 15 shot attempts in favor of the Blues, 3 to 5 actual shots. 0.06 to 0.34 expected goals for favor of the Blues, 3 to 5 scoring chances, 0 to 2 high danger chances, with 3-5-8 zone starts. So heavy on the defensive zone starts for that line. Eklund, Cunnin, Bailey played 743, 3 to 10 shot attempts, 1 to 5 actual shots, 0.09 to 0.29 expected goals for, 1 to 5 scoring chances, 1 to 1 high danger chances with 1-1-5 zone starts. Again, all the zone starts are going to be heavy defensively because you spent the entire game in your defensive zone. Bordeleau, Sturm, Hoffman, 7-12 time on ice, 5 to 10 shot attempts. So that's probably your best line when it comes to Corsi, right there. 1 to 7 actual shots, 0.09 to 0.25 expected goals for, 2 to 4 scoring chances, and 0 to 2 high danger chances. And then we had Zadina, Carpenter, LeBanc, 5 to 11 shot attempts through 3 to 3 actual shots, and then 0.12 to 0.38 expected goals for, 3 to 5 scoring chances, 1 to 2 high danger chances. That line I think was in the middle of a line change when Zadina scored, but great job on that line by kind of creating that goal, especially, creating the pressure. And then Zadina was able to kind of grab it, and then great shot from Zadina. Zadina, he needs 3 goals to hit 15 by the end of the season, which not too bad, especially with how the season has gone for him. We need more Zadina kind of after the All-Star break, kind of Zadina, but I think Zadina has been a great signing for the Sharks and well worth the gamble. Well, I mean, it wasn't really much of a gamble. Well, a low risk signing that has, I think, definitely worked out for the Sharks this year. So, I'm curious to see where he fits with more pieces coming in. But I think he's played well enough. So we also had the Lund line kind of make a small appearance. They played 251, 2 to 5 shot attempts, 2 shots for it, and did have the goal from that line. 0.23 to 0.14 expected goals for, 2 to 4 scoring chances, 1 to 1 high danger chances. I'm curious to see if we see more from this line, more of the Lund line, because again, shot attempts are well out of whack in this game, but 2 shots in less than 3 minutes, a goal, 0.23 expected goals for, which is easily the highest of any of the lines that played in this game. Like, is that if I'm curious to see if we get more of that going down the stretch here as Quinn kind of continues to experiment and play with the lines and stuff like that, and kind of just build some chemistry, continue to build chemistry going forward with some of these guys. So I'm curious to see if that line sticks together. Again, the Corsi 4 was brutal in this game, as all the everyone kind of got outshot. The Addison Thrun pairing, they were the lowest among the Corsi 4, 6 to 26 shot attempts for Thrun for 18.75, 4 to 17 shot attempts for 19.05 for Addison. So again, I'm trying not to overreact too much because this team basically was just riding Mackenzie Blackwood to a victory here. So definitely not a winnable kind of formula or sustainable formula for winning games, but you could kind of tell from the beginning Blackwood was just locked in, and the Sharks they did enough to get a win, kind of to snap that losing streak, and get ready to start probably another losing streak here soon. So just felt good to win one every once in a while. So put a bow on this game. We got a new game Monday night. So we'll talk, of course, we'll do this all over again on Monday night, but it's now time to kind of check in on the prospects and see how they're doing in the playoffs here. So we'll get to that in just 1 minute. The sports calendar is loaded, and FanDuel is making it even more exciting to get on the action because right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $200 you can bet on the tourney, MLB, NBA, NHL, and so much more. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet a big win. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. All right, let's check in on the prospects. We will start with, of course, Will Smith, whose Boston College just hung in there, won on Sunday against Quinnipiac in overtime, a game that was not like any game we've really seen from if you've watched Boston College this year, where Boston College just kind of gets out and kind of rolls teams. And this was a game where they were down, multiple goals at one point, kept fighting back, tying it, then losing the lead, fighting back, tying it, losing the lead, and then finally came back and won it in overtime. But Will Smith had an assist in this game. And, this game and the game on Friday, Will Smith kind of wasn't his best games, especially after what we saw in the Hockey East tournament. Guys, that's okay. Like, let's not freak out. A lot of people are already like, he needs to go back to school one more year, et cetera, et cetera. Take a deep breath. I didn't mind him struggling in this game. And here's the reason why. Because you could see kind of, even on the game on Friday, I felt like he was pressing too much and trying to kind of go for that spectacular play a little too often, right? Almost like the Erik Karlsson, where like 9 out of 10 times Erik Karlsson does it and it looks great. But then that 1 out of 10 times where he fails and then all of a sudden it's in the back of the net. Yeah, like that's going to be Will Smith sometimes, right? And you have to live with that because guess what? He on Friday set up the game, one of the the biggest goals of the game. And then on Sunday, like he, helped set up a Ryan Leonard goal to kind of tie the game there. And you see the problem solving and kind of having to deal with Quinnipiac, who is one of the best defensive teams in the entire country. They're defending champion, like heart of the champion. That team was not going to go out with a fight. They were swinging, and Will Smith, definitely not his best game, but you could kind of see the problem solving. And by the third period, his line was the best. They were the line that were creating the most opportunities, creating the most chances, and they were the only line that were kind of really creating offensive zone time. And the other lines were kind of starting to build on that and catch up to it as they were figuring out how to kind of work against this very, tight Quinnipiac group that is, there's a reason why they won the championship last year and a reason why they were one of the best defensive teams in the country this year. And they made Boston College work for it. And it's good to see, right? You want Will Smith to kind of deal with some of these challenges. So Will Smith, their next game will be April 11th. I think they're playing Michigan. Michigan wins. So they'll be playing Michigan on April 11th. So that should be a fun one there. And then if they beat Michigan, they'll be playing the winner of Denver-Boston University on April 13th for the national championship. So plenty of good stuff coming there. So going to juniors. Now, actually, really quick, in the SHL, so we saw Edstrom, his team is still alive. They won game 5. Edstrom had an assist in that game. Only got to really watch the third period of that, and they were up like 4-1 at that point because it was really early on Saturday morning. Philip Beested, his team got knocked out and swept. So we're kind of on Beested watch again. I don't expect Beested to come over right now. I expect him to kind of be over in the summer and get ready to kind of start the season in San Jose next year. So we'll have more time to talk about Beested later on this summer, but as we'll do deeper dives on these guys and kind of their season. So moving to juniors. I forgot about our boy Jake Furlong last week. He actually separated his shoulder, or he screwed up his shoulder, had to have shoulder surgery, and his season is done. Interesting note about it. He's having his surgery in San Jose, which tells me his junior career is probably over, as they're probably going to want to oversee how he returns. Again, William Eklund had shoulder surgery in San Jose last year. He was good to go. I fully expect Jake Furlong to be good to go and kind of competing for a spot on the Barracuda next season, especially if you think like Shakir Mukhamadullin is probably going to be graduating to the NHL. Jack Thompson could potentially be graduating. Like the CUDA depth on the blue line could use some more bodies right now. So I expect Furlong. Not worried. A-okay. He'll be fine. So, and he had a really good, his numbers weren't the best this season, but I think his role changed a lot where he was much more of a defensive like shutdown unit. And I think that's better for his long-term kind of development. So yes, numbers were down, but I think he really stuck to that defensive ace, and it's going to just make him a better player. So, all right, guys who played, Kasper Holttunen. London Knights are up 2-0 now. Holttunen had 2 goals on Sunday, including the same goal we've seen from Kasper Holttunen a million times, right in the OV spot. Just an absolute piss missile to the back of the net that nobody's going to stop. So Holttunen continues to kind of be that power play specialist, but you did see a nice 5-on-5 goal from him as well in this game. So London, they ride their top 6 really hard, and until Holttunen kind of cracks that, we're going to kind of continue to see the same from London and from Holttunen, where he's going to kind of get to pick his spots here and there, but he's really going to kind of make his mark on the power play. So, but yeah, London's up 2-0 on Flint, and I expect them to kind of, to continue to move on, as they're a really good team. So, Quentin Musty, so they're also up 2-0. Musty, no goals yet so far in the postseason, but has a lot of assists. That was a really fun game. If you get a chance to watch Sudbury and Mississauga struggle, the Steelheads, excuse me, those two teams are really fun to watch because their defense is very optional and goaltending is kind of optional. So we saw I think it was like a 6-5 overtime win on Saturday by the Wolves. They were down, kind of kept coming back. Musty hasn't found the back of the net, but he has been kind of doing the playmaker stuff, and he has had a lot of opportunities. It's just going to be a matter of time for Musty. He continues to just do Quentin Musty things, and I expect they're heading home. So they won 2 games on the road, and now they're heading home. So if you wanted to see Quentin Musty playing AHL games this year, probably not at the way that this series is going. But then we get to watch Quentin Musty do fun stuff in the playoffs. So Quentin Musty, I wouldn't be surprised. I'm going to predict 2 goals from Musty the next game, because I just think he was really close a bunch of times in that game. And that leaves Luca Cagnoni, who has been an absolute monster so far in the playoffs, as Portland is up 2-0 in their series against the Victoria Royals. Cagnoni, 3 goals and an assist so far. He had 2 on Friday night, and then another goal and assist on Saturday night. And he is just an absolute monster. And I keep asking, ELC win. He's going to be a fun one to try to figure out what they do with him this summer, because I think he might be able to play AHL games, because he's played he's played enough. His age is close. He's a little bit older. But I think since he's already 19 and he's played 3 full seasons in the WHL, he should be able to play in the AHL next year. And it'll be a really interesting decision to see what the Sharks do with him. Again, especially if you think Jack Thompson / Shakir Mukhamadullin are ready to graduate, and you want an offensive defenseman to run your power play and stuff. Look no further than Luca Cagnoni, who's been an absolute monster for the Portland Winterhawks this year. And if the Winterhawks go through and win it all, he's not going to have too much left to prove in the WHL. So San Jose Sharks, ELC win. So that's going to be it for me today. We'll be back tomorrow to talk about the Sharks Kraken game. And then Tuesday, so that'll be Tuesday's episode, Wednesday's episode, so Tuesday night into Wednesday. We'll have another, got an interview coming down, or it's in the can, ready to go. We got another draft profile, big draft profile coming up this week. So make sure you guys are following wherever you get podcasts. And of course, you can watch on YouTube as well. Follow the show on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Locked On Sharks. You can follow me on Twitter at MyFryHole. Until tomorrow, bye, friends.